All right. So I've had some time. I slept on it. I'm ready to talk about my 76ers. First things first, let me just go ahead and congratulate the Miami Heat. Put on an amazing series. The better I didn't want to say it all the way. I almost said the better team won. And then my brain said, nah, don't say that. Say the better performing team won. But regardless of how you look at it, shout out to the Miami Heat. You guys had an absolutely amazing series. Jimmy Butler is looking absolutely phenomenal in these playoffs. He looks great. We have these conversations about Jimmy Butler all season long of some games he looks like he turns it on and some games he'll have 9 points and the Heat still win. In these playoffs, Jimmy's scoring's increased, his efficiency's increased, his passing, his defense, his rebounding, all his numbers have gone up. His play has only gotten better. Jimmy Butler is a playoff performer. Now on to my 76. I don't have much good to say in terms of the playoffs. The regular season, phenomenal. Joel Embiid, amazing year. Every night was fun and enjoyable watching him. He put on a show every single night. I absolutely loved watching. Maxey, huge season for him as well. Blossomed and proved that he can be a potential star in the league moving forward. At least an all-star caliber player. Potentially, he's still young. Shout out to Joel Embiid for playing. It's a real warrior spirit. We talked about that in the live this past week. He played through a lot of injuries. He played through probably a lot of pain. But the Sixers got a lot of work to do in the offseason, and I just knew. Going to bed last night after watching that Sixers game, I knew there's no way Doc Rivers comes back. And it wasn't even just based off that game. I've been saying all season Doc Rivers needs to get fired. All season I've been saying this. And what does Daryl Morey say when the reporters ask him about Doc Rivers moving forward? He said, Doc's here to stay. I love Doc. Doc's great. Doc's my guy. Glenn is my guy. If Doc Rivers stays here as our head coach, it's beyond a roster. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what the Sixers can do roster-wise to make this team a winning team if Glenn Rivers is going to be our coach. So many times down the stretch of that fourth quarter, not even just down the stretch of the fourth quarter, so many times in our offense throughout the entire season, it's just stagnant. Our offense is very, very stagnant. Doc Rivers does one thing really, really well, and I will give him this. Doc Rivers draws up amazing after timeout plays. Absolutely amazing after timeout plays. Inbound plays to get a quick bucket. He's wonderful at those. He was great at it with the Clippers. He's been great with the Sixers. But actual half-court offense when the game slows down, a lot of it is just a lot of standing around, a lot of half screens. Like, it's not good-looking offense. It's not ball movement. It's not player movement. The ball kind of gets to either Joel's hands, Tobias's hands, or Harden's hands, and it stops. It stops right there, unless when they even get doubled and they try to kick it out to a shooter. Doc Rivers does not draw up good half-court offense. He hasn't all season long for the Sixers. One of the things a lot of people were talking about with James Harden in this playoff series was his inability to look aggressive at all or look interested at all on the offensive side of the court in the second half, specifically in the fourth quarters. In the second half of that game 6, he only attempted 2 shots. He missed both. Shout out to Lowe. I talk about him a lot. I'm a fan of his. He went on Twitter Spaces, basically saying he went back and watched some of that second half, and the ball didn't really get to James Harden. James Harden didn't really get the ball a lot. The ball was in other players' hands. You can maybe say that for this game, but I'm not taking that as an excuse because all season long, we've been asking James Harden to be more aggressive, especially when Joel Embiid was out. And like I've been saying, like I keep saying, I don't think that James Harden exists anymore. The James Harden that's going to take 20-plus shots, he doesn't exist. He's not there. It's over. We were talking in my Discord, shameless plug, but somebody said James Harden's step back was so effective because defenders were so worried about his drive, so worried about his quickness and ability to blow by them and get to the basket for an easy layup or get their bigs in foul trouble. But now that first step's not there. No one's worried about a James Harden drive anymore because even if he does get to the paint, his drives are sloppy. They're so sloppy. So I can play up on you. So when you step back, and even on the step backs themselves, there's no separation at all. Like, it's like he's tiptoeing back instead of an actual step back. There's no separation on these step backs. So I'm not worried about your drive. I'm going to play you for the 3, and then you're going to bail out our defense by shooting a heavily contested 3. I don't see a world where it makes sense for the Sixers to really re-sign James Harden. I don't see a world where that makes sense. But you know what's going to happen? They're going to re-sign him. Because Daryl Morey doesn't want to admit that he lost this trade. Daryl Morey doesn't want to admit that his guy, James Harden, is not it anymore. Look, I'll admit, When James Harden got traded to the team, I was excited. We hopped on a stream. We had a good old time. We had the Here We Come, everybody. We had the Sixers music playing. We had a good time the night he got traded. But it's time to realize that trade wasn't it. It wasn't it. Joel Embiid's 28 years old. We saw last night he likes to fall a lot. We know this. I'm not trying to have him waste more of his years on a Sixers team that's not doing anything. Am I saying I want Joel out? No. I don't want that to get misinterpreted as I want Joel out or I want the Sixers to trade Joel. But what I would love is for the Sixers to put a competent team around Joel Embiid. One of the things that I love about the Phoenix Suns so much, and I say this all the time, they have guys who can dribble, pass, and shoot. They might not do all those things at an elite or excellent level, but they can do it. The Sixers don't have a lot of guys who can dribble, pass, and shoot. If Furkan's not doing a catch and shoot three, there's no reason for him to be out there. If Niang isn't doing a catch and shoot three and the shots aren't falling for those guys, there's no reason for them to be out there. If Matisse Thybulle isn't locking up his man completely, there's no reason for him to be out there. Because he is a complete negative on the offensive side of the ball. And Matisse is my guy. I'm a big fan of Matisse. I like his tenacity on defense. I love a really, really good defender. I think he has the potential to be an all-NBA defender for a majority of his career. But you got to be able to knock down a wide open corner three. You just have to be. Or there's no reason for the other team to guard you on offense. The Sixers have a lot to figure out. And this is really just a ramble. Really, this is just a ramble. We'll go into maybe some more details of a further in-depth breakdown, maybe when the season's over, what I think they should do. But right now, what I'm feeling right now is just utter disappointment. Utter disappointment. I was watching a lot of the press conferences after the game last night and during the day today, and one of the things that stuck out to me, Joel Embiid saying that a lot of people expected James Harden to be what he was in Houston. And he basically said he's not that anymore. He's more of a playmaker now. And I agree. James Harden is more of a playmaker now. The way our team is constructed as is, if we're giving somebody a max, he needs to be a lot more than just a playmaker. Because the way our team is constructed as is, whoever that other guy who has a max contract is, he's got to be somebody who can give us 25 plus a night consistently and have a couple of nights where he breaks out for 30. And James Harden's just not that guy right now. You know what's even crazier about this whole situation, about the fact that we lost to the Miami Heat, is that Jimmy Butler used to be a Sixer. Jimmy Butler used to be a Sixer. And it's funny, Jimmy Butler, there was that clip that went viral of him during his actual post-game interview when he was still on court saying, you know, shout out to the Sixers. I'm really proud of Joel Embiid. Basically said, I wish I was still his teammate. Said he loved Miami, of course, obviously. But him saying he wished he was still Embiid's teammate almost hurt more because, yes, I wish you were still Embiid's teammate as well. And then immediately after that, walking into the locker room and saying Tobias Harris over me, Tobias Harris over me. And to not defend, because there's no defense for that, but I don't necessarily think it was a Tobias Harris over Jimmy thing. It was a Ben Simmons over Jimmy thing. They went with Ben Simmons. Jimmy said, I'm not playing here with Ben Simmons and Brett Brown. They kept those two guys, and then we were stuck with and had to pay Tobias Harris. But also, shout out to Tobias Harris. You are overpaid. I'm going to say that. You are overpaid, but you played very well this playoff series. You played probably some of the best basketball I've seen you play in a Sixers uniform. The numbers, if you just go look at his box score, the numbers might not be crazy flashy. But he's played amazing defense in the playoffs this year, and his numbers to me were what I expect from him. They're just not what you expect for somebody on his contract. That's the life of a Sixers fan, man. I'm going to enjoy the rest of these playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to enjoy the rest of these playoffs. But I just had to come on here and get that off my chest because it's going to be real interesting. We got to make some moves this offseason. And I'll be honest, we're already starting off with the wrong foot with Daryl Morey saying we're keeping Doc Rivers. Doc, Glenn, I don't know what you got to do to get back in your bag of tricks of the magic that y'all hold on to so much from that 08 championship run. But you got to learn how to coach some offense, a flowing, moving offense. The guys that we have on our team outside of Joel, sometimes Harden and Tobias Harris, they need to be moving to be efficient on offense. We cannot just rely on fast breaks, moving up and down the court, defense running out, lobs, layups, threes in transition. That's going to get you some wins in the regular season. But when the game slows down in the playoffs, it just doesn't cut it. And you can say, and I think part of the reason he's going to keep his job and part of the reason Daryl Morey is not getting rid of him is because you can, from their standpoint, fall back on, well, we were injured Embiid was injured. Embiid missed the first 2 games. And then by the time we got to game 6, he was gassed. He had, the pain tolerance could only go so far. He didn't look like himself. To an extent, you got to be able to do something else. Like, I get it. If your superstar player really ain't there, it ain't much you can do. But it ain't like we was trying to do anything else. There was no offensive player or ball movement at all. At all. Sixers just folded. That's what we did. We folded. I want to stop talking because I can feel myself getting ramped back up again and just talking in circles. I'll catch y'all in the next one. I'm out. Peace.